Dr. Alok Dhawan, Director, Indian Institute of Toxicology Research, Lucknow. Dr. V. Mudgavi, Head for PI, Bangalore. Fellow colleagues of CSIR, mentors from academia, and dear students. I, on my own behalf and behalf of Nice Zorhat, welcome you all to the welcoming session, to the concluding session of CSIR Summer Research Training Program, SRTP 2020. It gives me immense pleasure that today we have with us Shri Narayana Murthy ji, a luminary, to bless our students on the successful completion of summer training program and motivating them for their future endeavors. I am grateful to Shri Narayana Murthy ji for sparing time out of his busy schedule and grace the occasion today and inspiring our students through the question answer session. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
About the SRP 2020 program, this program was conceptualized in the context of outbreak of COVID-19, which has thrown up many unforeseen challenges worldwide of unprecedented scale. Since the disease was highly contagious, the government of India has several interventions, and one was the complete lockdown, which also been extended to educational institutions. So therefore, the formal mode of education was disrupted. And this was the time when CSIR raised to the occasion and converted opportunities into challenges. With the valuable suggestions and guidance, encouragement from our DG, Dr. Mande, Director NIST, Dr. Narhari Shastri took the responsibility to create a new window of opportunity for engaging our college and university students who were stuck at home due to lockdown through scientifically stimulating activities. Initially, online summer training program was conceptualized with an aim to enroll 2,000 to 3,000 students, which itself was a very big number if we compare it with the INSA program, which offers 300 to 400 fellowships per annum. But when the online registration was opened, we were overwhelmed that more than 16,000 students registered themselves for this program. And these students were from far-flung areas of India, from the remote villages, small towns. So therefore, the DG said, like, we are going to entertain all the students, not depriving even one of them. So then Dr. Shastri had the brainstorming session within in his institute and with the sister labs, and devised ways to provide a rigorous training to each and every student. DBT Welcome Trust India Alliance and Royal Society of Chemistry also supported the whole activity as our knowledge partners. The curtain raising program was launched on June 16, 2020 by none other than our visionary leader, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande. Since then, in the last 2.5 months, more than 40 popular lectures by eminent personalities. It is very difficult to name each of them, but just to name a few: Dr. Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary DST, Dr. Renu Sarup, Secretary DBT, Professor Gagandeep Kang, FRS, Dr. Sandeep Verma, SRB, many from Royal Society, and many others from various disciplines. They delivered the lectures. 56 special lectures on fundamental applied and translational research topics and live demonstrations of high-end equipments, instruments. That means online practical procedures were also delivered. More than 100 lectures on specialized topics of chemistry, biology, physics, engineering, data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, mathematics, geoscience, pharmacy, medicine, and so on were delivered by the experts in these fields. All those lectures are live in YouTube and Facebook page of SRTP, so that these may be accessed by large number of students and researchers even in future too. Every student was mentored individually by the experienced faculty from different CSIR laboratories, state, central, private universities, colleges affiliated to UGC, AICT, and was engaged full-time in a research project of 2 months. We are very fortunate that in the culminating session, we have the privilege to have with us Shri Narayana Murthy ji, the most recognized and respected face of Indian IT industry. Throughout his entire life, he has cherished the virtues of hard work, fairness, honesty, transparency, excellence, which makes him an iconic leader, living legend, and one of the greatest entrepreneurs of the present time. I am sure that our young scientists will be inspired by his motivational words today and try to imbibe the values he possesses. The online program has given the students a platform to get the exposure to national and international ecosystem of R&D, and I am sure it will help inculcating scientific temperament and bring forth innovativeness and creativeness through the science and technology research projects, which is the need of the hour to make India an Atmanirbhar. I once again welcome Dr. Narayana Murthy ji to this concluding session and congratulate Dr. Shastri and his team on the success of this SRTP program, and also thank him for providing me the opportunity to initiate the session. Thank you very much. Welcome, sir, to the SRTP session. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ranjana. I request Dr. Alok Dhawan to introduce the Narayan.
Namaskar. Welcome, sir, from Lucknow. Our greetings to you.
Professor Alok Dhawan.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it's a privilege not only for all of us, but the youth of this country to be listening to none other than Mr. Narayana Murthy, who is the founder of Infosys Limited. I was finding it very hard to introduce him because everything that you want to tell about him is available on the internet. But I thought, let me introduce.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I thought I'll just introduce a person through a non-cliched way. I think I have a CV, of course, with me, which I'll share a bit. But I thought let me just try to put in alphabetical order the way I thought about a person of the order of Narayana Murthy. So I thought he was the epitome of Atmanirbharta and Atmavishwas of this country. Way before this word actually came in, he showed the country how you can become self-reliant and how you can make a mark in this world. He's of course a businessman with ethics. He's a champion of entrepreneurship. He's determined and dedicated to the cause for which he has put forth his life. He epitomizes empathy. He's very empathetic to his employees, also to the society. He is focused while forecasting the future. So that's very difficult, but still he keeps the focus. He's grounded with grit and determination and has global presence. He's a harbinger of information technology in the country. Humble person, but yet he has a focus also apart from his IT skills. He also has a lot of focus on how to improve the higher education in this country, and he'll perhaps dwell on it a little bit. He again epitomizes innovativeness in this country and has institutionalized excellence with relevance. He's a very just person, I would say, very kind-hearted, embodiment of leadership. He's magnanimous, a man with a difference, a lover of music. He nurtured the youth of this country. By his company and by his deeds, he's omnipresent, not only for the society, but also for his employees. He's a philanthropist known across the world for his work, but also he's passionate with a purpose. His organization is policy and process driven rather than personality driven. These are some things that we need to learn from the organization. He's very quality conscious. He's a risk taker, and that's how his company is where it is globally. He's always connected with the society and the stakeholders, and his mantra has been simple living and high thinking. He's trustworthy, he trusts others, he's transparent in his dealings, and also he's a great time manager. He's universally acknowledged. He's a visionary, of course, a workaholic, a genial, a youthful person, and that all has culminated not only in Infosys becoming the topmost company, but it has also taken the country to the zenith. I place before you with great gratitude on behalf of CSIR, the man, the person, the founder of Infosys, Mr. N.R. Narayana Murthy. He was born in Karnataka and then did his graduation from National Institute of Engineering, the University of Mysore, with master's degrees in electrical engineering. And he did a master's from Indian Technology, Kanpur. Later, he also worked in different organizations before actually founding the Infosys, of which he is the founders and CEO. He not only conceptualized and articulated and implemented the global delivery model, which became the backbone of the Indian software industry, but he has also created an ecosystem which the other companies now envy and they follow. In 2014, Mr. Murthy was ranked the 13th among CNBC's 25 global business leaders and listed among the 12 greatest entrepreneurs of our time by Fortune in 2012. He has received Légion d'honneur from France, the CBE from Britain, and the Padma Vibhushan from India. The Economist ranked him among the top 10 most admired global business leaders in 2005. He's ranked among the top 10 of the Financial Times list of business pioneers in technology. He's also the first Indian winner of Ernst & Young World Entrepreneur of the Year award. And in 2016, he was awarded the Philanthropist of the Year in the Asian Awards. Apart from that, he has been elected as the member of the prestigious American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2019. He's a foreign member of the US National Academy of Science and National Academy of Engineering and a fellow of the Indian Academy of Engineering. He serves on the boards of Ford Foundation, the Institute of Advanced Studies at Princeton, New Jersey, and the United Nations, such as Cornell University, Wharton School, the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University, and the Rhodes Trust at Oxford. He was the chairman of the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, the #1 B school in India, and the Public Health Foundation of India. He is also a member of the advisory board of the University of Tokyo, ESS-EC Business School, France, IESC Business School, Spain, and several others. He has also served on the International Advisory Board of Yale University, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and several others as well. As I mentioned to you, NRN, as he's fondly called, is an epitome of simple living and high thinking. And sir, we are indeed blessed through you. This entire next generation will be listening to your thoughts. And of course, we are blessed that as CSIR, we could host you as one of the speaker of eminence. I think my Ranjana's talked about culminating of this program. I think this is the start of a new journey when you speak and the youth listen, and they will be highly inspired by your thoughts today. Thank you very much indeed, and it's all yours, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sorry that we are running about 6 minutes late. And before you, I request you to give, Dr. Swapnali Hazarika will request you to open some of the videos. Dr. Swapnali?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Respected Padma Vibhushan N.R. Narayana Murthy, the Director of CSIR is Dr. G. Narahari Sastry, Director IITR Dr. Alok Dhawan, Professor Ranjana Agarwal, Director NISTAD, and Dr. B. Mutkavi, sir, Director for PI Bangalore. So, sir, on behalf of Director CSIR NIST, Dr. G. Narahari Sastry, and CSIR SRTP team 2020, we, the organizing committee, have prepared more than 100 videos which covers up all the instrumental facilities available at CSIR NIST, Jorhat. It's our immense pleasure to prevail the learning techniques of different experimental demonstrations and working principles of them to every individual stuck at home in this current pandemic situation. Sir, till date, we have released a total of 36 videos, and we have also received large number of viewers with immense and valuable and encouraging comments. Today, we are going to release another set of 10 videos. These videos are here on behalf of you, sir, and with due permission from you,
sure,
we are clicking here for releasing these videos. Should we proceed, sir?
Please, please.
Yeah. Yeah, we have released these videos. So these videos are proton procession magnetometer, wire cut electric discharge machine, ground penetrating radar, cyclic voltammetry, demonstration, graphene synthesis, Henry reaction, light microscope with fluorescence, microwave assisted drying system, and nanozyme. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I go ahead, Dr. Shastri?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And it's really a great day for us to have somebody who was serving in the advanced study of Princeton as an advisor and also in the trustee of Oxford and Rhodes Trust. Sir, before we take the question answers, I request you to reflect upon the higher education, your views on the higher education, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, and please kindly deliver.
Well, I will give a very short speech. Dear Dr. Shastri, Dr. Agarwal, Dr. Mutkavi, Dr. Dhawan, distinguished scientists, and most importantly, the bright young minds that are assembled here virtually. It is a rare privilege for me to address this distinguished gathering. I see in front of me the most precious wealth of India. That is the high quality young minds that are assembled virtually here. Congratulations on completing the summer training program. Institutions of higher learning and research like CSIR laboratories lay the foundation for seeding observation, curiosity, questioning, openness to new ideas, meritocracy, pluralism, self-confidence, understanding of the real world, applying the formal theory learned during your student days in the classrooms, and independent thinking that you imbibe at the undergraduate and graduate level. The CSIR laboratories provide an environment of deep thinking, imagining the unimaginable or the unimagined rather, discussion, debate, collaboration, focusing on the deep secrets of nature, interdisciplinary approach to problem solving, and data and fact orientation, among many other aspects of research. No country has become a developed nation without developing the scientific and technological problem-solving skills of its citizens. That is why institutions like CSIR are very important for India's progress. Why should India bother about research? That too fundamental research. Let me elaborate. Science is about unraveling the secrets of nature and understanding the reality around us. For example, physics answers basic questions like why the sky is blue, why an apple falls, why the earth rotates around the sun, why a rocket roars into space, why heat goes only from a hot body to a cold body and not vice versa, why sound becomes less intense as the car moves away from us, and why we see a rainbow. On the other hand, engineering is about using the power of science to remove the constraints of nature and make life more comfortable for human beings. Television, telephone, computers, internet, and other gadgets are the results of engineering. Let me remind you the words of Edward Teller that the science of today is the technology of tomorrow. Some of you youngsters may be skeptical about the value of fundamental research to a poor country like India. Let me give you some examples for why CSIR laboratories may want to devote some part of their time to pursue fundamental research in sciences. Quantum theory, invented by Max Planck, Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, Wolfgang Pauli, Erwin Schrödinger, Richard Feynman, and others, is what has made transistors, lasers, and DVDs possible today. The theory of relativity, enunciated by Albert Einstein in 1905 and improved by him in 1915, and further improved by Georges Lemaitre, Alexander Friedman, most recently by Kip Thorne and many others, is what makes today's global positioning system, or GPS, accurate. Without this celebrated theory, our GPSs would be off by 7 miles. Nuclear reactors and PET scanners use Einstein's famous equation equal to mc square for their working. Without the work of Kurt Gödel, Alonzo Church, Alan Turing, and John von Neumann, we would not have had computers that are so ubiquitous and so critical to our existence today. Without the celebrated theories of James Maxwell and Claude Shannon, the world would be a dark and disconnected place. Our youth deserve to invent solutions to poverty, illiteracy, ill health, and malnutrition that have held back India and the developing world. Institutions like CSIR would give these wonderful youngsters opportunities to contribute to the betterment of India and this world, so that these students are recognized and respected. Else, what is our contribution to this world as a nation of 140 crore people? This is possible only if we create more and more such research and higher educational institutions that encourage our youngsters to think independently and unleash ideas to make our country a strong nation. I am confident that this gathering of bright and enthusiastic young minds will bring glory to India through their work in science and engineering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It's really great to live in a country where people like Dr. Narayana Murthy is living. I am delighted always to see that somebody who is in the advisory board of the best academic institutions in US, Britain, Japan, Spain, Brazil, France, Singapore, Bangkok, and many other institutes in the country, has established the Infosys Prize to recognize the best talent, which not only makes a new window for people to reach greater heights, and Dr. Narayana Murthy has shown that India has the power, whether it is the Infosys campus in Mysore, which is probably the best in the world, one of the best, comparable, and giving job opportunities for people in other countries as well as in India. Sir, we are extremely proud to have you with us, and your emphasis on how to plan, and this will be a great learning experience for all of us. I have a few questions on the behalf of CSIR SRTP team and our scientists and our students. Sure. And one of the questions that people have is, in India, every year a large number of students try to get admission in IITs, but everyone can't get the admission. What is your advice to students who can't get admission in this premier institute like IIT? and cannot get access to this quality education?
Well, Dr. Shastri, I believe that it is possible to obtain good education from any institution as long as there is reasonable competence, hard work, and desire. After all, professors in the early years of IIT were all from Indian higher educational system outside of IIT, because at that time IITs had not graduated anyone. And these people came from institutions outside the IIT system. The most important thing for our youngsters is to learn proactive problem recognition and problem solving. This requires the basics of any theory, applying it to phenomena around you, and then thinking about how to apply it to extend the frontiers of knowledge or to solve real life problems that make human life better. This kind of learning, I am certain, I did my undergraduate degree outside the IIT system. Therefore, I am quite confident that this kind of learning is not limited to IITs. So I would suggest that all educational institutions, including IITs, focus on open book kind of examinations which require deep thinking rather than the result of rote learning. Further, India has lots of opportunities far beyond what can be filled by IIT students for well-educated students. Real learning, as you people know, starts only when you start a job. And there are lots of opportunities for you, whether you pass out of an IIT or not.
Thank you, sir. It's a perception that the brain drain from India is mostly from IITs, which are considered to be the place for most promising students of the country. And government also spend a huge amount to train. Do you think government should make certain rules for serving the country for at least a few number of years, 5 years or 10 years, by the IIT graduates, and it should be ascertained before their entrance examination or before giving the degree? Should we put some constraint on it?
Sure. Well, today we live in a globalized world. We operate as a global village. India has to become an active and respected member of the global higher education system in this global village. There is an increased need for interaction between scientists and engineers in India and those abroad. One easy way of doing it is to have a small percentage of Indian scientists and engineers settling abroad and contributing to India through such exchange of ideas and discussions. Therefore, I do not see any issue with a small percentage of bright Indians going abroad for higher education, succeeding there, taking up jobs back here in this country or taking up jobs abroad, and if they are abroad, operating as model and law-abiding citizens of that society. I am not very sure if the Indian government can force Indian students who go abroad for higher education to return. There are lots of constraints for Indians abroad to return after 10 to 20 years. I mean, Dr. Murthy is a rare example, and I'm sure all of you are good examples of this. But I know Dr. Murthy's first case very well. because we are very close family friends. He had done his PhD from a great institution, Caltech, his undergraduate degree from IIT Kanpur in aeronautical engineering. He had lots of job offers in the US. But then he said, I want to come back to India and serve my country. But those are rare examples. However, most Indians find a lot of issues. For example, suitable appointments, suitable housing, education for children, etc. The best solution for this problem is to make India attractive enough to students abroad to return to India. Nehru did that to a certain extent. Jawaharlal Nehru did it to a certain extent. Every one of my teachers at IIT Kanpur, and I am sure Vidyadhar will agree with me. Every one of my teachers at IITK was a bright, young, and enthusiastic professor who had gotten his or her PhD from a well-known US or UK university. Therefore, the plan for us should be to create an environment in our higher educational institutions like the one in developed nations. That is, provide total academic freedom, freedom to invite academicians from all over the world without having to get some approval from somebody sitting in Delhi, and visit them without having to obtain approval from some joint secretary sitting in Delhi. No interference from bureaucrats and politicians in governing and managing these institutions. Zero bureaucratic control over these institutions. No restrictions on salaries or for professors. Good accommodation for faculty and staff. Starting good quality secondary schools on campuses or near campuses for education of children, of faculty and staff, and a good and attractive retirement plan for professors and these researchers so that they continue to live with reasonable comfort post-retirement. The government can give each higher education institution so many rupees per researcher or per student and leave it completely free. If we can give them freedom to look after so many bright assets of India, what is an issue about 100 crores or 1,000 crores? This is what I used to fight with Dr. Murthy Joshi when he was the HRD minister and I was the chairman of IIM Ahmedabad, because those days some joint secretary in Delhi had to approve the plan of the director of IIM Ahmedabad to go abroad. I used to tell Murthy Manohar, an excellent human being. I have wonderful relationship with Dr. Murthy Manohar Joshi even today. I used to tell him, Murthy Manohar, if you can trust the future of 500 of India's best children to this director, can you not treat him, can you not provide him freedom to make his own decision whether he has to go abroad or not? So, therefore, I would say that there should be no other control than saying this is the amount of money per researcher or per student that we give. These are the number of researchers that you can have for the next 5 years. Afterwards, we will perhaps increase it and we will give you completely free. Let us try that experiment. If we did all of these, I am sure most of the students who are abroad would want to return to India. Let me make a very important statement. Till this COVID stuff, I used to go abroad about 20 to 30 times a year. Earlier, I used to go even 50 times. But in all my visits, I have not come across a single non-resident Indian who does not wish well for India and who does not want to add value to India. Therefore, I think all these non-resident Indians, they're our own people, our brothers, sisters. They wish well for India. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the elders in this country to create an environment where these people want to come back. Sorry, I took a little bit of time.
Thank you, sir. This is so important to be able to speak in creating the ambience of excellence so that we don't create a situation like S. Chandrasekhar or Harigovind Khurana or Venki Ramakrishnan to leave the country and be recognized somewhere. And I think you have touched upon a fundamental point that it is the responsibility of every one of us to think good about our country and create a situation which breed good people and then provide an atmosphere of nurturing excellence. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I hope that you agree that the technology and education have gone up to a different level nowadays compared to your times or about a few decades back. Do you find any difference in the value system and expectations between that of your generation compared to current generation?
You know, my own belief, Dr. Shastri, is that the value system of students today is as good as or better than the value system of students of our generation. There are two reasons why we may see more cases of violation of value system today than in the past. First, there is democratization of education. You see so many more students coming out of college today than 50 or 60 years ago. Therefore, you see a large number of students who do not subscribe to good values as during earlier times. This is in absolute numbers. This would happen, in my opinion, in any society. However, you have to remember one important point, and that is the percentage of students with good values those days is about the same as today. But because so many more students are coming out of college, so many students are coming into research institutions, into industries, all of that, if you apply the same percentage of violation of value system, you see a larger number of people violating the value system. Therefore, it appears like the value system is going down. Second, the number of role models for these students to follow has not kept pace with the increase in the number of students. For me, it was very easy. We had Jawaharlal Nehru, we had Vallabhbhai Patel, we had Shyam Prasad Mukherjee, we had John Mathai, you know, we had C.D. Deshmukh, we had Rajgopalachari, we had in front of our eyes people who walked the talk, people who made extraordinary sacrifice. By then, you know, Mahatma Gandhi had died, so I'm not taking his name. Today, unfortunately, for the large number of youngsters who are well educated, we do not have a commensurate number of role models. That is where the problem, I personally believe, lies with me and my generation rather than with youngsters. So if we can create more and more role models with good value system for our youngsters to learn from and improve, I do believe that India would become a better place.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you, sir, for really taking a very nice stance that this is a reflection of your positive attitude. And I hope that our attempts will make more people to worry about this. So one question that people ask,
like you see, people like you, Dr. Mande, other senior people, Dr. Murthy, you are all role models for these youngsters. See, therefore, a very heavy burden rests on your shoulders. They're all watching you. They imitate you. They want to become like you. So therefore, similarly in the industry, they're all watching people like me. So we have a huge responsibility to motivate these youngsters. And I have no doubt at all, knowing you and knowing Dr. Murthy, I have no doubt at all that you people are doing everything necessary to be role models for these youngsters.
Your words are motivating, and we also realize our responsibility. And as well as everybody is watching, and we know now that you are also watching us, and we will try to reach to your expectations. So one question is, did you ever visit Assam or Northeast India? And if so, what comes in your mind first when you think about Assam or Northeast?
I have visited Assam a few times. The first time I visited Assam was in 1975. I went there to do a study on the comparative drilling performance of Oil India Limited and ONGC, Northeast. Now, we went through several places in Assam, and there was a major observation that I made then, and afterwards have been a few times to Northeast. I find that Northeast is much cleaner than rest of India. That is a very important observation that I have made. It is pristine. Maybe it's clean because there is less population. I don't know what it is. But I personally believe it is not the level of population. I think the habits of Northeastern people lends to cleanliness better. Second, people are very kind and gentle. They want to be a very productive citizens of this country. They identify themselves with India. There are always a very small percentage everywhere. We shouldn't look at them. And their patriotism, I found, is no less than any other part of India. So therefore, for me, going to Northeast has always been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I echo your feelings, and it's a really nice place.
Yeah.
Sir, in your opinion, what endeavors do you think that the budding scientists of India should opt for Northeast?
Well, I can speak only for the high-tech or the IT industry. In my opinion, Northeast is no less suited for high-tech than any other part of India. If the infrastructural facilities are improved there, and if the social environment creates a higher level of confidence for people from other parts of the country. There are lots of smart Northeastern boys and girls working in Bangalore, including at Infosys. My industry, as you people know, derives about 90% to 98% of its revenue from abroad. Therefore, fluency in writing, reading, and speaking good English is a must. My impression is that Northeast is as good as any other state in India in English, and in many ways better than most other states. That's one. Second, there should be opportunities for jobs for the spouses, if you want to attract my industry there. Because by and large, most modern couples today are two-income families, most of them. There may be some exceptions. Therefore, there is a need for jobs in the services, in the hospitality, and other industries to be created in parallel with the IT industry. Third, there is a need for explosion of English medium schools for the children of these modern young couples. Some state leaders in India are under the impression that making access to English medium schools for the people of the state hard and difficult, the language of the state may make it improve. That is completely wrong, and that belief has been disproved beyond any doubt. Therefore, I would urge the leaders of Northeastern states to make English English medium an option for the parents. Let the parents decide whether they want to send their children to English medium or Assamese medium or whatever medium they want. It cannot be the decision of the state. It has to be the decision of the parents, because parents have the best interests of the students. Then youngsters, I have found in Karnataka that youngsters have suffered because of fluency in English. See, the other day I met a young man who was very smart, but he was working as a peon. So I asked him, Bhaiya, why, and in Kannada, why are you? He said, sir, I didn't take English medium. I didn't do English medium degree. Therefore, unfortunately, I'm stuck here. If I had done English medium, I would have got much better opportunity. These are not my words. These were his words. So, fourth, there is a need for direct international connectivity of Northeast with London, Paris, Frankfurt, New York, San Francisco, Hong Kong, and Singapore at the least, because that will connect you with the entire world. You know, Japan, China, Australia will all come through Singapore or Hong Kong, and US, Canada, South America, they will all come through Frankfurt, London, or Paris. The next one is there is a need for several international quality 5-star hotels that caters to customers of the IT industry from developed nations. They're used to a certain level of cleanliness, certain level of service, etc. So therefore, we cannot argue with them, why do you need a 5-star? You accept 3-star. That is not our thing. As long as they pay for it, we should provide them. Sixth, There is a need for restaurants serving international and European cuisine in addition to high quality Indian cuisine. If these factor conditions are created, I have no doubt at all that Northeastern entrepreneurs will succeed in the IT services industry as well as any other entrepreneurs. That's what I feel.
Thank you very much, sir. And it is moving in that direction, and hopefully we will succeed in establishing. So many people think that the next question is, many people think that Indian education system is not at par to many developed countries, and lots of students from India go abroad for education and also settle down abroad many times. The question is, was it a good sign for India in earlier times? And similarly, is it a good sign for India now?
You know, frankly, I'm a believer in aiming for the best in any field. Education is no exception. Every parent wants the best for his or her child. Whether it is Northeast, whether it is Karnataka, whether it is Tamil Nadu, whether it is Haryana, there is no difference. Every parent would want the best for their children. They're also willing to make any sacrifices for providing the best education to their children. Therefore, I do not see any issue with our youngsters going abroad, as I said before, to obtain the best possible education. We get worried that most of them settle abroad. We cannot prevent these students, as I said earlier, from pursuing what is best for them, not just in education, even in life. Let's remember the words of Milan Kundera, who said that we live only one life. He said, "Ilya Kyunvi," there's only one life that you need, lead. Therefore, each individual first chooses what is best for him or her. We can't blame, why are you choosing the best for you? They happen. Only when you are strong can you add value to India, for your country. If you are not strong, then you cannot add. We have to therefore think seriously about this problem and find a solution to make India attractive enough for NRIs to come back, as I said before. The Chinese have done a reasonable job of getting their students back after their higher studies. You know, several friends of mine and relatives of mine who are well-known professors in the US, they tell me that the number of Indian students doing PhD has gone down drastically in the US. However, the number of Chinese students doing PhD has increased phenomenally. Number of South Korean students doing PhD has increased phenomenally. Therefore, I think we have to create opportunity for a certain percentage of our youngsters to go abroad, get a good education, and then provide reasonable living condition for them to come back and add value to the country. That is what I personally believe. You know, I also believe that all these solutions are well within our hands. Our duty as elders, as I pointed out before, is to make this country attractive for students to return and add value to this country. There should be no corruption, that's one. There should be no bureaucratic hassles for simple chores like obtaining land titles, getting building plans approved, starting companies, getting admission to English medium schools for children, and obtaining reasonably good healthcare. We are not saying the finest, but reasonably good healthcare. Similarly, our commons, that is our parks, our roads, they should all be maintained clean. Even though I'll tell you in my own Mohalla here in Jainagar, in 1985, I used to see the person who used to clean the roads. He used to come once every 2 days. Today he doesn't come even once in a week. Now I complained to the municipal corporator, the municipal commissioner. He said, "Sir, you know the situation, what can I do?" So if we cannot enforce discipline among public servants, if we cannot reduce corruption, if we cannot make life reasonably comfortable, then to say that you fellows must come back to India and suffer this, that I think is not a fair thing.
Okay, sir. Well, this question is regarding what was the best advice you received as a young man when you have started your career or just before starting Infosys? And what advice would you like to give to the young professionals?
Well, I have received many gems of advice from various people. That is from my parents, my teachers, and my bosses. I would like to pass on to youngsters some of these gems. One, treat public property better than you would treat your personal property. In other words, keep the roads cleaner than you would keep your house clean. That is the first principle. Second, fairness in treating other people is most important. What is fairness? Fairness is doing unto others what you want them to do unto you if the roles were reversed. How do we get to fairness? Use data and facts to decide every issue. Third, have integrity. What is integrity? Integrity is honesty and transparency combined. Fourth, when you become a manager, take bottom line responsibility for your actions. I used to work in France and we were building an operating system. When you build an operating system, you need to have 7 or 8 people to test it, because there is, all that you got if your program did not work was a dump of 400 pages, which had only hexadecimal numbers. You had to go through and go through various tables and finally find out whose program bombed. Therefore, we had to have task management person, file management person, device management person, memory management person, etc., etc. It was a Friday evening. It was my program that bombed. In France, at 5 o'clock, everybody wants to go home on a Friday. So all my colleagues, they said, we want to go. They left. I had a South African Englishman as my boss. I called him. He came and he asked me, how much time will it take to reconstruct the database so that Monday morning when everybody comes back, you can, that their work won't suffer. Because some magnetic tape alignment had gone bad, we had to use a lot of paper, a lot of cards, punched cards, to reload the database. I said it will take about 23 hours. He picked up the phone, called his wife, and he said, sorry, there is some emergency. I can't come for the dinner. They were supposed to go to dinner to some friend's place. Please tell them my sincere apologies. And he sat down with me. He said, look, I'm not a technical person. You have to do all the job, but I'll bring you coffee, tea, lunch, dinner, everything. And I will give you confidence. So he went on encouraging me and giving me confidence. Next day, around 5 o'clock, the task finished, Saturday. And at that time, he said, kid, next time if you do like this, I will spank you. So the point is, he taught me the importance of taking bottom line responsibility. Then the next is competence, character, and commitment are three pillars of any successful person. If you want to do something worthwhile, then you have to have competence, you have to have character, and you must show commitment. The sixth one that I can say is, when in doubt, disclose. That is very, very important, because that's how you build trust in other people. The next one that I have learned is, let the good news take the stairs. Ensure that the bad news always takes the elevator. In other words, bring the bad news to your bosses, to your peers, as early as possible and proactively. Don't try to hide bad news. Then I've also learned from my teachers and my bosses who said, praise people in public, but if you want to criticize them in private. That is extremely important. The next one that I have learned is the definition of success. Success is bringing smile onto the faces of people when you enter a room. Why do they smile when you enter a room? Not because you are powerful, not because you are rich, not because you are the smartest fellow, not because you are the most beautiful girl in the world, but because they all know that you care for them. Therefore, if you can get smile on the face of people when you enter a room, you are a successful person, no matter whether you are a janitor or whether you are a billionaire. The next thing that I've learned is embrace high aspirations, hard work, and discipline if you want to achieve anything worthwhile. Now, I can go on and on, either the whatever 10 or so that I wanted to mention.
Many thanks, sir, for very nice advices. And people do make mistakes. Have you ever committed any mistake in the early part of your career? And if you made any, then what lesson you have learned from these mistakes? And what's your advice to young students of this program?
First of all, I've committed lots of mistakes. Absolutely no doubt. I do not know of any person who has not committed any mistakes. Perhaps God is the only entity that has not committed any mistake, and that is perfect. Now, what do I do when I commit a mistake? I try and write down my mistake. I look at this list at least once a week until I've practiced it about 10-15 times. Then I remove that from my list. because it has been internalized by me. It has become part of my reflex action. Therefore, while I have committed mistakes, I try to commit the same mistake the second time by this process. I also learn lessons from watching other people. I learned some lessons from reading, and I learned some lessons from listening to learned people. See, we had a very famous philosopher called Basavanna. Mutkavi knows about him in Karnataka. He lived about 620, 630 years ago. And he said, you learn some from people by watching some people, you learn some from people from reading what others have written, you learn some by doing. So therefore, there are many, many methods of learning. And thanks to my parents, I have used all these forms of learning. Yet I have committed lots of mistakes, but I try to avoid committing the same mistake again and again by the method that I've already described.
Thank you, sir. Actually, we are a little bit exceeding our time. If you can kindly spare a few more
Sure, no
minutes,
problem.
we
No,
have a few more.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
According to you, what success means, and what is the mantra to be a successful person in any field?
You know, in some way, just now I referred to it. To me, success is bringing smile onto the face of people when I enter a room, or when I come back to the house, or when I come to the office, or when I go to somebody's place. Now, by this definition, every can be successful. There is one important requirement. One doesn't have to be rich. One doesn't have to be beautiful or good looking. One doesn't have to be wealthy. One doesn't have to be powerful to be successful. None of these. However, you have to have one quality to be successful, and that is you have to care for other people. You have to share in their joy, and most importantly, in their sorrow. If you can be part of their sorrow, if you can be part of their joy, to share in the joy of somebody else, to share in the success of another person, is a big quality. A lot of people become jealous. So therefore, if our youngsters learn to care for others, if they learn to share in the joy and sorrow of others, I believe that other people will have happiness on their face, will have smile on their face when they meet you. So therefore, we can all be successful, from the janitor to the prime minister, as long as we follow this minor principle.
Thank you, sir. The question that bothers many of us is, India is a vast country, and many discoveries have been made in India, and with the knowledge super talent, why India is not the technological superpower now? What is your reaction?
You know, Dr. Shastri, first of all, I personally believe that we should be humble and not use words like superpower. I hope you don't mind my saying that, because we have a long way to go. And I have found, I have had the fortune of meeting a lot of highly accomplished people, particularly at the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton. I have come across so many Nobel laureates, so many field medal winners. But one thing I have observed in these people, 99% of them, I would say, they are humble, they treat others with respect. So my request to all the youngsters is to be humble, or not even use the words like superpower. Now let me come back to answering your question. Now, before the invasion started in 980 AD, I think it was Khilji or somebody, India was a country that excelled in science, mathematics, surgery, and other higher scientific pursuits. We all know that. There is data. I am not saying anything new. Unfortunately, India lost all of that in the last 600 to 650 years. In fact, the last, more major world-class work was done in India, ahead of anybody else, was by Madhava, a Kerala mathematician who did work on using infinite series for approximation of several complex functions. No, that was leading edge work. That was up there at the front edge. You had Bhaskaracharya of Bijapur. You had Sushruta. You had Leelavati. You had Aryabhatta. You had so many of these extraordinary people from 400 AD. And between 400 and 900, the density of such people, density of such ideas was high. But once the Khilji or whatever invasion took place, somehow the focus went away. And the loss that we have heard of from that thing was 1400 something by Madhava. So, therefore, the task before our youngsters is to bring back the glory. To do that, we have to have high aspirations, we have to work hard, and we have to be disciplined. We have to orient our education system towards problem solving from rote learning, from anybody. We must be ready to learn from anybody who is better than us. We have to overcome the post-colonial mindset and embrace speed, imagination, and excellence in execution. This discipline is so important. Let me tell you a story of one of my own colleagues who worked with me, Mr. Shibulal, retired as the CEO of Infosys. When I was the general manager of software at TCS in Mumbai in 1979, he joined me as a software engineer. One day, I used to go from meeting to meeting. I was very, very busy. One day he came to my room for some review. I looked at the stuff and then said, "Shivu, you're not going to go home unless you finish this task." I was In an angry mood, I said that and forgot. 3 days later, I had gone to Taj Mahal Hotel for dinner with a customer. My wife was also there. And I told her, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:31. Told my wife, you know, let us zip through the office, let us spend 5 minutes there. And we drove to the office. I went up the elevator, we went up the elevator. And the security guy was a new fellow. He was in that shift. So he didn't know who I was. So I said, you know, is everything fine? He said, everything is fine, sir. And then there was one fellow who was wearing a lungi. And he was working with some tape unit at the computer. So I asked the security guard, who is that fellow? I couldn't see it from that distance because it was a long corridor. He said, sir, he is a very unfortunate fellow. So I asked, why do you say he's unfortunate? He said, sir, his boss has told him not to go home until he finished the job, and this poor young man has not gone home for the last 3 nights. And his wife brings food from home to him in the office, and he is working. So then I showed my card, I went inside, and I asked Mr. Shibulal, Mr. Shibulal, why have you not gone home? And he said, like that child on the ship Casablanca. He said, Mr. Murthy, you asked me not to go home unless I finish the work. I have not finished the work, therefore I have not gone home. I think, to me, that is the best example of discipline. If every Indian can become disciplined like Mr. Shibulal, I think India will go a long way. That, I know, that's fine. We can go to the next one.
Fantastic, sir. This is very much required. And we all know that how much of an importance that you give to planning and time management. Yeah. So I know that the next question will open a full lecture or even a book. Yeah. But if you can summarize, how did you plan for setting up Infosys? That will be great.
So instead of planning, say, what was the philosophy behind setting up Infosys? I will try and answer, because Dr. Shastri, as you rightly pointed out, planning and all of that, it may take a long time. Let me answer your question regarding the philosophy of setting up Infosys. I was a strong leftist when I was a student, because that was during Nehru's time. Nehru was influenced strongly by Harold Lasky. And therefore, we were all left of center. But when I went to Paris in the early 70s to work in a software company there, I studied communism, socialism, and capitalism. I met leaders and thinkers of all these three isms. I observed how France and Western European countries were making progress. I came to the conclusion that the only way a poor country like India can solve its problem of poverty is not by shouting "Garibi Hatao" or things like that, but by doing the following 3 things. 1, we have to create lots of jobs with good salaries. Such salaries provide for good disposable income. Such income can be spent on buying goods and services, going to restaurants, going on trips, etc., etc. Therefore, they create even more jobs in the secondary and tertiary sector. Second, such jobs in these numbers are created by entrepreneurs who convert an idea into jobs and wealth. That's what entrepreneurs do. They come out with a stunning idea, with a brilliant idea, and they create a large number of jobs, right? That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Third, I also learned that it is not the responsibility of the government to create jobs. The government has to create an environment that is conducive to the development of entrepreneurship and consequently creation of more and more jobs. So it is based on these three fundamental principles that I wanted to conduct an experiment in entrepreneurship, in creating jobs with good salaries, jobs with good disposable income, and also create wealth. That's how Infosys was born. Yeah. Hello?
Please, what is...
Sorry?
Hello?
Yeah.
Are you able to...
Yeah, well, your voice is not very good, but it's okay. Yeah.
So, are you able to hear?
No, I think your voice is cutting.
Can I...
Your voice is breaking.
And what are the more... Okay. Hello, sir. Now I came to another device.
Yeah.
So
Now
what
it is
is the
better.
biggest, sir,
Now
what
it
is
is
the
better.
biggest challenge in forming a team as a leader, and what are the most important things you consider while entrepreneurship is taking up as a career?
Well, Dr. Shastri, I have found that the biggest challenge is to inspire the team to have a common set of aspirations and values. That's the biggest challenge. This requires leaders to imagine an aspirational vision and articulate it in a stunning manner and create enthusiasm, energy, hope, confidence, sacrifice, deferred gratification, and hard work in his or her people. That is, this stunning and aspirational vision should create these attributes in every member of the team. This, I believe, is only possible. That is, creating these attributes of enthusiasm, energy, hope, confidence, sacrifice, hard work, deferred gratification, etc., is only possible through leadership by example, through walking the dog, and through practicing the precept. If leaders do these things, that is, if they led by example, if they walk the talk, as Mahatma Gandhi did, that's why Mahatma Gandhi is the greatest leader India has produced, because in everything that he said, he practiced it. So if we, the leaders, did it, then we earn the trust of the people. If people trust you, they are ready to make sacrifice. They would, because they would say, if this person who is our director, who is our senior most person, if he is ready to sacrifice, if he is ready to work hard, if he is ready to have hope and confidence in this, then we too can have that. So once the team trusts you, they are ready to give their life for you. Then in such a case, the team will work hard, the team will be disciplined, the weak, the team will make sacrifice, will embrace a good value system, and will achieve the plausibly impossible. Let's all remember the story of Moses. Moses convinced the people to walk on water, but the sea parted. That's a different issue. But all his followers agreed to follow Moses into the water. So therefore, I would say, you enunciate an extraordinary vision, you lead by example, and you practice those wonderful attributes that I talked about, then everybody in the team will follow you. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Shastri, you are muted.
Yeah.
You are muted.
Hello, am I audible, sir, now?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah.
So the one question from the audience, they asked that students, especially from rural background, have more practical knowledge and are more exposed to day-to-day problems. Some of them are very brilliant, innovative, and have creative ideas toward product design. In view of small fraction of financial support from funding agencies, these ideas are restricted to exhibitions. We would like to know your comments or suggestions or steps to follow in order to improve the culture of investments, especially from private sector to startups in India.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Today, there are lots of venture capitalists, including me, who are ready to fund ideas that have a good market, and consequently that will create large number of jobs with good income, and will therefore lead to higher revenues and higher profits, and consequently a higher value of the company, so that the venture capitalists can get their return. Generally, what we have found is, out of 10 ideas that we fund, if we can get 3 ideas to develop, and if we can get some return from these 3, then overall will be all right. Overall return will be all right. So the most important thing that all these youngsters will have to do is, first, they have to think about how their idea will lead to a product that has a differentiated value to the consumer or the corporation compared to all other existing ideas. In other words, this idea must be better than all existing ideas, or the product that comes out of this idea must be better than the products that are existing in the market today. That's one. It could be reducing cost, it could be improving productivity, it could be improving comfort, and if it is a corporation, it could be raising the revenue, it could be making the production faster and cheaper and better, improve quality, etc. That's one. Second, they have to conduct an inexpensive market study. They should not have to spend too much money, but an inexpensive study to ascertain whether there is a market. Because the value of any idea.
Let us be careful.
Yeah,
very carefully. And
the value of an idea is established only when somebody is ready to pay for it. Otherwise, that idea has no value. Only if I am willing to buy your product, then that product has some value to me. And I won't buy it unless it has some value. So these youngsters have to establish whether there is a market, what is the price at which people are ready to buy, what are the good features of this product compared to other existing products. The third thing that they have to do before we can look at them is they have to produce a business plan on how they will scale up the production of the product, how they will make 1,000 products, how they will make 100,000, 1 million, what are the costs involved, what are the profits that accrue when they make that, how will they sell it, what are the distribution channels, what are the kind of talent that is needed to scale up. Scaling up is extremely important, because without scaling up, you will not be in a position to create lots of jobs. You will not be in a position to build a big organization. You will not be in a position to provide return to your investors. I think if they all focus, if these entrepreneurs who come out with their ideas, if they focus on this aspect that I spoke about, I believe that venture capitalists will be absolutely ready to fund their ideas. There is absolutely no doubt at all. I don't think going to the government is the answer. First of all, government has a lot of other important areas like primary education, healthcare, nutrition, etc. So government should not have to spend money on these. There's a lot of private money, but the entrepreneurs have to justify why this idea is a great idea, how big a business they can build from this idea, how long will it take to build, what kind of return that the entrepreneurs will get. I think if they did that, I have no doubt at all that it will happen.
I know that we are running. Just a couple of questions are there, with your permission.
Sure.
So one question that is bothering several people, including me, is why somebody choose an entrepreneurship when there is a comfortable job? For example, in your case, you were an IIT graduate and there was a comfortable job. Why you have chosen entrepreneurship? And what is this comfort zone that people are talking about? So how good it is to be comfortable or not so comfortable in your career?
No, I think entrepreneurship comes out of a certain self-belief, comes out of passion, and it is that passion which is larger than life. It is not, as you rightly said, it is not just taking care of one's livelihood. It's not eating, it's not making sure that there's a comfortable life, sending children to school, all of that. It's more than that. It is to make a difference to the world. It is to make a difference to the country. That passion, that hunger, that desire has to be there, because I don't know of any entrepreneur who did not go through tough times, including Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, everybody. You have to go through very tough times. But that passion to make a difference to the world, to bring your product, which is like your child. See, I don't know of any parent who said, my child is my burden. There is nobody who has told me, oh, no, I have a big burden and that's my child. Everybody is proud. Everybody wants to make all the sacrifice. Sometimes it may make you wonder why this fellow going through this much of hassle for his child. No, only the parent knows. It is that inner passion, that inner desire that is pushing him or her to make that sacrifice, to do that hard work, all of that. So therefore, I would say entrepreneurs cannot succeed unless they have passion. Now, the mindset is also very important, and many times mindset gets developed in families where the parents have brought up their children to think independently, to act independently, and take the best decisions. In families where they treat their children as, as babies, it takes time to develop. But even there it has happened. It's not this one, because it's a set of circumstances. You never know how passion develops. You never know what is, for example, for me, just seeing how France had developed, how Germany had developed, how Netherlands had developed, and how backward India was at that time in 1970. And how all these fellows, my leftist friends, were giving me bullshit on how leftism and Marxism is the solution to India. I thought a lot. Even I met the leader of the French Communist Party, Georges Marchais. He could not convince me how a society can become better by absorbing leftism. So then, on the other hand, I saw so many entrepreneurs make life better for hundreds of thousands of people through the power of their idea. So I became a convert to that idea. And that passion had been ignited in my mind. And that was so strong that nothing could stop me. So I would say that is the thing.
Thanks. Thank you, sir. Sir, the final question, it's
Sure.
a short question.
Sure.
Do you think that Northeast region of India has the prospect to become the next technological hub?
You know, in some way I answered that. You see, the reality of any high-tech company and including IT services is that majority of the market is abroad. Because you have to be at the leading edge and you have to extend the leading edge. Today in India, we really, that kind of work is not happening. Therefore, you have to have a constant interaction with people who are at the leading edge. You have to talk to them. But if you are in an environment where that does not revere speed, that does not revere competition, that's not used to innovation, then it becomes difficult. It is like if you want to lift a big boulder, you need a long stick, right? With that, you can lift it. But on the other hand, take a short stick, you won't be able to lift it. So therefore, I think you have to have a lot of interaction with people who are at the leading edge, with places like Silicon Valley. And for that to happen, you have to increase the interaction between the leading thinkers there, the entrepreneurs there, and for that to happen, as I told you, you need to provide a certain set of factor conditions. English medium schools for children, jobs for spouses, and then reasonable quality hotels and restaurants, international flights. I think these are all required. I have rarely come across a place which is in the backwaters and become a well-known place without these. That's what I would say. But if Northeast were to first try to attract the Indian IT services companies themselves by creating those conditions, then other things will automatically happen. I would say that.
Listening to you, sir, this is an experience which none of us will forget throughout our life. The way in which you have highlighted the humility and excellence which will go together, and stressing the need of creating an ambience to nurture excellence, and also telling that it's not the government which will do everything, it is a responsibility of everyone. And it is a responsibility to be passionate about doing things and enjoy our life. And I really admire the stress that you have given on basic science and the fundamental knowledge that one generates, and then how that can be connected to create an environment is really, really very useful for all of us. And I am very, very thankful for you to have an extended period of time for your interaction. We are all blessed to have somebody like you, and your blessings are important for a whole generation of people. We are all very proud that you, as an Indian, motivate crores of people, and we take you as a role model to march forward, sir. And each of your words, and especially the courage with which you speak your mind, is really motivating. I think one of the problems that our generation has is that we are not courageous to speak our mind, and that will not help us to do good quality science. Or it's very important to call a spade, but it's also very important to understand what is planning, time management, professionals, and everything is a learning experience. And I am sure that my colleagues, Dr. Mutkavi, Dr. Alok Dhawan, and Dr. Ranjana, was very lucky, along with a range of several thousands of people across the country listening to you. On behalf of all of them, you deserve a standing ovation. Now, due to this COVID time, we do pranam, and I don't know, we cannot thank you enough. Thank you very much, sir, from bottom of my heart. And now I request Vijadhar Mutkavi to take us forward. He has Mutkavi.
Yes, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's my great pleasure. Actually, I think you said you are all lucky, but I am the luckiest because I have known Sri Narayana Murthy for a very long time. He has known me much younger, and I think the conversations with him have always been a great pleasure. No doubt about that. And every time we speak, there's something I also learn a great deal. Among many things, people don't know he reads a lot. I think that's something that he reads a lot and loves books. That's something I think that one habit we must also kind of inculcate among the youngsters. It's my great pleasure to propose a vote of thanks. First of all, my heartfelt thanks to Sri Narayana Murthy. He spoke on several things. I think the questions also took us from many aspects. A few things, of course, competence, commitment, and character. He spoke about empathy. He said, you need to put smile on the people's face because there's a few mantras about success. But I used to speak to him. He narrates several stories. There are many gems actually we can get from him. I think, we need to engage him much more. There are several stories from his own life. I don't know whether he's written them down, but at least he narrates them to us. Sometimes I think you need to bring out a book for the benefit of the other. In fact, sometimes he spoke about capitalism and how capitalism should be practiced in India, because he said it should be practiced very responsibly.
Absolutely.
He said, I remember once you said, it's not a good idea for a CEO of a successful company to take a very large salary home, because that doesn't fit into the idea of India. But I think that you mentioned some time back. If I don't remember. But there is a responsibility that a CEO of a company who operates in India. It's all right for US and all that, but not really so here. So he needs to be aware of his surroundings and their responsibility.
Yeah.
That needs to be executed. And also the important lesson was to learn from him that the value system has not really broken down. It's a very positive thought, and because we look at numbers and percentages differently, and it gives a very different perception. And also because we are a connected world today, I probably need to understand, for example, what are the value systems that they imbibed in Northeast as versus in Karnataka, let's say even in Karnataka, Northern Karnataka, Southern Karnataka. I think we're beginning getting exposed to these things.
Yeah.
So there's a great deal of learning that will happen. But I think, are we on still? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So there's a great deal of things that will happen. And the other thing is, he spoke about the important aspects of jobs, which requires actually talent. I think talent is one of the key words that he has been emphasizing. In fact, again, in some of the conversations, he was then telling me, try and find out what makes an institution great. It's actually the people. It makes the people who make the institution great. And they create greatness. And because of that, other people are attracted to those institutions. So to make some institutions great, you need to get the best people. That's one of the key things, he has spoken about. And he also spoke about value of language. So I think if you want to be player in the global world, you need to be able to communicate at that same level that other people can communicate. And the language is an important, vehicle. And therefore, his emphasis, many people object to his emphasis. I know that, and when he speaks about, English as a language. But I think that nothing is lost if we learn English well. We can always, of course, learn our own mother tongue, our own. In fact, I think not many people also know. I think he speaks about 6 or 7 languages. I think, is that correct? I think he speaks fluent French. I think he probably also speaks German. I think it's 5 or 6 languages he speaks. Yeah. So when he says that, with that background, yeah, that's right, exactly. So when he says that, I think we must take it as an important lesson. That's because that's a vehicle of communication. Otherwise, how will I communicate my ideas? How will I tell that this is what I know? This is what I have learned. And so several gems have come out. There's a nice summary of the talk has been made. I'm really very thankful that you came today and addressed the students, though we're not been able to see them on a virtual background, but they've been listening to you. And I'd like to thank Ranjana Agarwal for her initial remarks on the SRTP program. And also like to thank Alok Dhawan for his introduction. I think you tried your best to introduce Sri Narayana Murthy. Not that easy, I know. And also thanks to, of course, Dr. Shastri and his team. His team has been working relentlessly. You mentioned about somebody not going home because then his boss said so. Narayana Shastri has done that to his team. That much I'm quite sure. Why this program has been succeeding well. Otherwise, it shouldn't have taken off. So thank you, Dr. Shastri and your team. I hope they can get some rest now after this and get back to other business. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I do hope that
I thought that just one sentence. I thought that they will get rest, but after listening to Sir, they get more excited and they don't want to take any more rest. So they have 3 of the students were relentlessly making a slide summarizing the speaker's words and advice. And Sir, you are able to see that our students, Rajiv, Monty and Lisa, they have made this slide when you are speaking, Sir.
No, I saw that. Wonderful. Very well done.
I completely agree with you, sir. The students, the value system is still there, and that is a very positive sign. And we really remember your suggestion that we have to have more role models, and we will try to derive. And thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Murthy and all of you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Shastri.
I think we can stop.
Thank you.
Are we offline now?